Peace be with you. So I wanted to make this video in regards to describe a little bit what the official religion of Islam is based on, and then to talk a little bit about something that not a lot of Muslims who identify themselves as mainstream practicing Muslims like to talk about, and that is the collection of the books we call Hadith. So where do basic components of Islam come from? Well, in modern Islam, you would think it's the Quran, but it's actually not. It is these books of Hadith, and this is where most of what's practiced comes from, or what's believed. So some of those sayings are very questionable, but a lot of Muslims are taught from young age that they are not to question this. Um, the way this was collected, the first book was collected by a guy called Imam Bukhari, and what he did is he traveled in his region and collected all the sayings that people were saying the Prophet Muhammad said, and the legend has it he rejected thousands upon those sayings as lies. And then he did the best he could, and he used a process called isnad, which is like verifying the chain of a narrator. So if these people who are in the chain are deemed trustworthy, and then there's multiple chains that are similar, they decided that this is correct and this is what Prophet Muhammad actually said. Needless to say, there's lots of that's questionable at best if you can actually verify anything like that, which I don't think you can. But people have decided that, and now the mainstream religion of Islam uses these books as if they are holy. Uses them as if they are holy. Their beliefs come from there. Their laws come from there. And unfortunately, there's a lot of questionable stuff. So I wanted to bring one up just to show what I'm talking about. Now, like I said, talking about this is very frowned upon. So I've been called a disbeliever, even though I am a Muslim. I follow the Quran. I've been called a disbeliever for even daring to reject some of these sayings or sayings that are attributed to the Prophet. But I would just want to show that this is nonsense in some cases, and in some cases it's like literally blasphemy. It is literally blasphemy, and the fact that people are so stuck on defending blasphemy, they abandon the Quran for what's essentially blasphemy and still call it Islam is really unfortunate. Now, not all of these books are blasphemy. Not all of these sayings in these books are blasphemy, but I find it to be mostly counterproductive because there's volumes and volumes of these books that you actually have to like have a college degree to read them all. It's just a lot. And not only that, you never know which ones are valid or not because the mechanism for determining this is just so weak that the isnad I mentioned that you can never be certain. Um, Unfortunately, what I'm saying now is, like I said, a lot of people call just plain disbelief. So I just want to make that known. But I also want to say that as you have an organized religion that is now a community, that is now a group with leadership, that leadership, as it's replaced through generations, what people go through is they get indoctrinated into these positions. So even anybody that would try to preach what I'm about to say from a pulpit would be just booed out of it. They would be removed. They would take their ability to reach out to people away from that. And that has historically happened. And that is why we are left with what we are left with in regards to the broad adoption of hadith as if they are law from God by all mainstream sects of Islam. In any case, I just wanted to go through one hadith here, and it is hadith about Moses being ordered to die, basically. So this one is found in Sahih Bukhari, and hadith have different uh, markings, or I don't know how you call this, different references. So this one is either a Book of Prophets, which is a 60th book online, Hadith 80, or it's a Hadith 3407, or in the depreciated reference is Volume 4, Book 55, Hadith 619. In any case, this Hadith is blasphemy, and I will show you why. So the Hadith says, narrated Abu Huraira, the angel of death was sent to Moses when he came to Moses. When he came to Moses, Moses slapped him in the eye. So Moses slapped the angel of death, right? Uh, the angel returned to his Lord and said, you send me to a slave who does not want to die. So God send the death for Moses, and Moses was like, nah. Boom, slap the death, right? God says, return to him and tell him to put his hand on the back of an ox, and for every hair that will come under it, he will be granted 1 year of life. So he puts his he can put his back at the back of an ox, and so God is bargaining with Moses. God is bargaining with Moses. So for every hair that will come under it, he will be granted 1 year of life. Moses said, "Oh Lord, what will happen after that?" God replied, "Then death." Moses said, "Let it come now." So Moses was like, "Okay, have it come now." He's talking to God, right? Moses then requested God to let him die close to the sacred land, so much that he would be at a stone's throw distance from it. Abu Huraira added, God's messenger said, "If I were there, I would show you his grave below the red sand hill on the side of the road." So that is the hadith. Now consider what this hadith is saying again. So Moses disobeyed God in regards to death. Death didn't just come to Moses on its own accord. God sent death. So God decided, Moses, this is your last day. You're dying today. And this hadith says that he said, I don't think so. That's not going to happen. And then God is over here bargaining with him. So, referring back to the Quran, we see in chapter 63, verse 11, God says, "But never will God delay a soul when its time has come, and God is acquainted with what you do." So God is telling us in the Quran that never will God delay a soul when its time has come. That's it. When God decides you're going to die and sends that angel of death for you, you're going to die. I don't care if you're a prophet. I don't care if you're the Messiah. You are going to die. End of story. And we're told in this hadith something different. God also says in chapter 6, verse 61, "And he is the supreme, above his servants. He sends keepers over you until when death comes to one of you, our messengers cause him to die, and they do not fail." Moses can't say to death, come back later, I'm not ready. And Moses can't bargain with God in regards to when he's going to die. So this counteracts the Quran. It is against the Quran. It is a fallacy. It is a blasphemy, basically, because it is literally saying about God what is not true. And if we use the Quran as what's called furqan, meaning the criterion between right and wrong, then we understand that this did not happen. This cannot happen. And to believe this, which they are making an essence of faith, basically, believing this, they're making it a pillar of faith. So much so that they tell me I'm a disbeliever if I disbelieve this. It's a little bit too much, I believe. It is risky. So blasphemy is a pillar of faith, and we can't have that. So people can see for themselves, So that's why I don't believe in all hadith, and this is a movement in Islam. This movement is suppressed in the Arab world, but out here in the West, we can actually look at this and question it, and I just think it's very, very questionable for a lot of these. And of course, I approach it on a case-by-case basis. When something is as purely blasphemy as this, I'm horrified that people believe it without actually thinking about what it says and using the Quran to actually validate it. So that's it.